One of my favorite shows, speaking of documentary series, one of my favorite shows in the world is back. Light and Magic on Disney Plus. This is season 2. Did not know there was going to be a season 2. Don't remember any. Saw zero advertising. I didn't see so much as like a social media post about this season. So I don't know if you've seen the show, but this is the story of the famous effects company Industrial Light and Magic, started by George Lucas for Star Wars back in 1975, 76. First season, it talks about the origin story of the company and all these amazing legendary films that they worked on. I mean, they started with Star Wars in 1977, then they went to Indiana Jones, and then later they did like Terminator 2, Jurassic Park. Every big film, Back to the Future, like every big film franchise, E.T., like all these things were ILM effects. These guys are just like this group of geniuses who are all legends now. Like you say, if you say these names in filmmaking circles, it's like the Babe Ruth and Joe DiMaggio, and like they're like legends of the game kind of thing. We got through the 70s, 80s, and 90s last year. Now we're going into the 2000s, and it's starting again with the Star Wars prequels because they worked on those as well. And it talks a lot about like going from practical to digital effects, blending the two together, which I thought was really interesting. My favorite parts of season 1 are when they're doing the practical stuff. Like when you're seeing the miniatures, when you're seeing them do practical puppet work, and when they make the house in Poltergeist implode and stuff like that. And
Mm,
they show you how they did that practically with like models and,
right.
machinery and stuff. I think that's so cool. The, clicking a mouse is just not as fun or as cool,
No, yeah.
but surprisingly enough, if you look at episode 1 and episode 2, there is a lot of practical work. There's like big models and things like that. I don't know if are you a Star Wars fan? Are you a Star Wars person?
The originals. Yeah, when I was little, I watched them. I mean, I haven't watched them in a long time now. But I had Star Wars toys, and I was all into that. Yeah, I was a big I liked Luke Skywalker as opposed to Han Solo. I feel like now I like Han Solo better. My taste changed.
It's funny, like, I grew up as a kid who wanted to be Luke Skywalker, and that was like, uh, I was obsessed with Star Wars. Talking about like the 2000s, they're talking about the kids who grew up with the prequels, and
Yeah,
like that's like their Star Wars.
yeah.
And people our age were like, this is horrible, it ruined my childhood. Like there was so much hatred and vitriol about the prequels. And okay, if you're familiar with the prequels, you know the character Jar Jar Binks, which was this completely digital character. Lots of controversy. He was a big, stupid, goofy character, and some people like hated him. Like, just like a lot of the hatred for the Star Wars prequels is directed at Jar Jar Binks. Well, in this series, they talked to Ahmed Best, the actor who was the mocap actor for him, and they kind of talk about what he had to endure going through the process of like not only creating this character that's completely digital, so like you're doing all this work and you're never seen on screen, but the interviews and stuff that he had to do about it after critics really didn't like him. And then like there was like this all of these reviews that were like this character's horrible, and like they like and he took it personally, and he tells a story about like he almost jumped off a bridge.
Oh man.
He was so distraught about this. And so it really does put a human face on it. And, I don't know, maybe people should be nicer on the internet. But the other thing
Hmm.
it does is like it really shows the evolution of movie technology, with just your huge movie nerd like I am, you will love. Another thing that it talks about is George Lucas. George Lucas is one of the greatest innovators of cinema he's probably the greatest innovator of cinema in the 20th century and in the current century. There's so many things because of him and ILM that we have today that we never would have had. We have digital cinema cameras because of him. We have digital editing because of him. VFX, the state of VFX is because he spent his money, researching and developing these computer techniques. Pixar came out of ILM. It was a division. The reason it's called Pixar is because that was the first computer that they used that could do computer animation. The One of the guys, John Knoll from ILM, he's the inventor of Photoshop. He and his brother invented Photoshop. And like,
Wow.
yeah, so like like you don't think about it, but it's incredibly ubiquitous. Like how much, like you and I could not do what we do if
Right.
it weren't for these things. So when next time people are like yelling at George about the prequels, just remember that.
Yeah.
You're able to do that online on video because of George Lucas.
Yeah.
This is the BTRP Media Network.